This is a video directed towards all self-proclaimed skeptics, agnostics, naturalists, secular humanists, atheists, and free thinkers. How exactly do you define the term free thinker? Because that makes me wonder. Did you look at all the evidence and decide that there wasn't a God? Or did you already have a conclusion set up in the back of your mind, so you only watched videos that helped you support your predisposition? Oh, so you looked at all the videos and all the evidence and came to the rational conclusion that there is no God, right? Well, in that case, you aren't really a free thinker then, because you're relying on other people's discoveries. You didn't go down to Africa or whatever country and dig up the fossils and come to the millions and billions of years conclusion, alright? You are an offspring and a product of Darwin and those like him. You are not a free thinker, you are Darwin's children. He made up your mind for you. But I guess you could say that the original atheists were free thinkers, but tell me, what would you say to someone who claimed to be a Christian and then came to the conclusion that there was no evolution? They looked at the evidence and no one told them about millions and billions of years and they came up to no conclusion of it. What would you say to them? Why are Christians always the brainwashed nutcases when atheists are somehow the enlightened free thinkers that somehow whatever they come up with is original and pure and untainted, and Christians are just evil and demonic, and how dare they brainwash the masses? But aren't most atheists relativists? Like, don't they believe that there is no absolute truth and no absolute morality? Therefore, Christians are just as rational as atheists and free thinkers if you look at it through those glasses. Well, now you could say that, well, you're an atheist when you're born. Well, let's say that that's even true. That would mean that the Christians are the free thinkers then, because you were just following the herd. Christians are the ones who are going to be the real rebels and come up with their own stuff as a real free thinker would do. So even by that logic, Christians are the free thinkers. Okay, I'm getting tired of flipping my hair back and forth to each side every time I do that. I mean, so I'm just gonna read off of this now. I'm getting tired. Okay. Atheists, you cannot be free thinkers because all of your ideas come from other men. The only true free thinker would be the very first atheist, and God knows who that even was. And all other atheists would be sheep that branched out from him. Which reminds me that atheists seem to think that the Bible being written by man somehow disproves it. Or that means men are fallible or dishonest. So then, even you're admitting that everything you believe is fallible and dishonest as well, because everything is written by man. So if the Bible is fallible, then so is everything else written down, which includes scientific discoveries. Therefore, again, we're on equal ground when it comes to being rational or quite possibly wrong. Well, the Bible's also been translated so many times. Well, let's pretend we don't have the manuscripts and other archaeological evidence at the very... Well, let's pretend we don't have the manuscripts and other archaeological evidence that at the very least proves the time period and location of the writings. And let's just say, for sake of argument, that we don't have any original manuscripts and we just had the Bible in translations today. With that logic, every single piece of history that wasn't written in its original language isn't trustworthy. All European, Asian, African, etc. history and culture is all pointless because the meaning has been lost in translation. You're just grasping at straws here, man. But to all free thinkers out there, I have one question for you. What archaeological and substantial hard evidence do we have of the Lewis and Clark expeditions? I would say it's minimal. At best, it's absolutely minimal. But we all believe it happened, yet none of us were even alive to observe it. So, therefore, by your free-thinking rationale, it never happened. All of history has never happened unless you personally observed it. Wait, what's that you say? Other people observed it and wrote it down? Well, by George, I think we're making some progress. Now, you might say, well, there is no external evidence of the Bible. Well, I'm not going to try to prove Genesis. Just like atheists cannot prove by any means the Big Bang, I could never prove Genesis, nor could any man, and just like you cannot prove evolution because of reason X and Y, I cannot prove God for reason Z. But the locations of the New Testament can all be found, and Old Testament for that matter. There are no mythological kingdoms or nations in the Bible, and there is an abundance of extra-biblical evidence and historical accounts of people who spoke of Jesus and the aftermath of his alleged crucifixion and resurrection. But all of that is a video for another time. I keep on reading this as if I know what's going to come next, so I say it in a completely different inflection than when I wrote it. That's kind of silly. But I guess that's all I wanted to say. It's just that free thinkers, you guys are not the free thinkers at all, but you are just as big of tools as Christians. You believe what Thunderfoot says, just like I would believe what my pastor says. If Thunderfoot said, "We discovered that there was a giant squid living in Antarctica who ate penguins," you would say, that is amazing. I wonder how the squid survives in the wintertime. You change your opinions based on whatever you want to believe, and I change my opinions based on whatever I want to believe, alright? It is literally impossible to separate your metaphysical, spiritual, religious, or lack thereof beliefs from your opinions. If someone is an atheist, they are much more likely to support X, whereas a Christian is more likely to support Y. It is 1,000,000,000% inevitable, alright? But I will leave you guys off with this last little snippet and I'm reading this from an article, not article, but a post from evidenceforchristianity.blogspot.com. This is a little known fact that most skeptics are not even aware of. A pagan historian documented the darkness that covered the earth during the time of Passover in 32 AD. In approximately 52 AD, a pagan Roman historian named Thales, or Thululian, I don't know how you even say that, it's Roman, you don't know what they say. I'm going to say Thales because that is probably wrong, who lived during the time after the resurrection of Christ, wrote about a mysterious darkness that covered the earth during the time of Passover in 32 AD. Thales weakly attempted to explain it away as an eclipse of the sun. However, Julius Africanus, I don't know. This guy's from North Africa. I don't know, man. A Christian teacher in North Africa in 215 AD wrote the following concerning the assertions that an eclipse had actually occurred. Thales, in the third book of his histories, explains away this darkness as an eclipse of the sun. Unreasonably, as it seems to me. Julius Africanus had good reason to write that an eclipse was an unreasonable explanation. Modern astronomers, have confirmed that the full moon during which the Passover occurred, the Passover when Christ was crucified, could not possibly have been eclipsed. Therefore, there is no known natural explanation that can explain away the darkness referred to in the Bible that occurred during the crucifixion of Jesus. Thank you, Thales, for recording this bit of history for us. So, self-proclaimed skeptics, agnostics, naturalists, secular humanists, atheists, and freethinkers, unless you're going to write me a 25-paragraph long comment about how your most irrational paranoia, going on about how it's all made up and just one big conspiracy and lie, I highly advise you do your research and come up with your conclusions yourself. You guys are no better than the skeptics from Christ's age. They literally saw the miracles and they did not believe. They were like, oh, it's parlor tricks. It's just coincidences and eclipses and all this nonsense because they didn't want to believe in God. They were not rational. They were not free thinkers. They were not skeptics. They did not want to believe him. And so that little line right there, they did not want to believe, formed all of their opinions and ideas from there. All of your beliefs and all of your opinions and all of your ideas will spring forth from one seed. Just one seed. And that seed is going to be your spiritual and religious beliefs. I promise you that. I hope you have enjoyed it. Unless you're an atheist. I hope you hated this if you're an atheist. Until next time, I'm rocking for Jesus. And I drink tea out of Gatorade bottles.